Okay, so we just had the Super Bowl and we've had a ton of new trailers. The one I want to talk about right now, though, is the Flash movie trailer.
Tell me, did you subscribe? You will. And you'd better not forget to hit that like button as well. This video is not sponsored by Wayne Enterprises or LexCorp, so check out the Patreon link in the description below and consider making a monthly pledge. Men are still good.
Now, if you've been keeping up with my videos, or at least just my videos on the Flash movie, you'll know that I've been very apprehensive about this film for more than one reason. For a long while now, it's been a film that planned on doing some major shakeups to the DC Universe's status quo. And I think we're seeing some of that in action in this trailer here. We'll go a bit more into that later, but as it stands, I don't feel like the DC Universe has even had a status quo at this point. We've only just had our first Justice League movie, and we don't even know which version of that movie it was. But this film looked to be doing a major shakeup, which would lead to a version of the DCU with very different front runners, side characters stepping into main roles, but since James Gunn's been taking over, that's not what this film is doing anymore. And I think having that clarity about what is going to come next has affected my overall perception of this movie in a positive way. Put it this way, I've been someone that's wanted to champion for the Snyderverse to make its return. You know, Zack Snyder's DC films are my favorites of the bunch. And I would have loved nothing more than to have seen Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. Keep Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill in the picture, but now we do have confirmation that that definitely isn't happening, but we will still be getting a Batman and Superman in the DCU going forward. So I'm kind of, I guess, at this point of acceptance. You know, it's not going to change the fact that I consider, like, Justice League and the premature ending of the Snyderverse to be probably one of the biggest fumblings of the bag in Hollywood history. And it's not going to change the fact that I am a bit bummed out that we're not going to see that, but I'm ready to get excited about what's coming next. So I think I do have a sense of clarity going into this trailer for The Flash. I have some idea of what to expect coming out of this film, so I can just kind of enjoy this installment for whatever it is it's trying to bring us. But then there are a few other reservations I have, like why is the first Flash cinematic movie a Flashpoint adaptation? Again, it's another major shakeup to a status quo that we don't have. Like the first Flash movie adapting the Flashpoint storyline, it would be like the first Captain America movie adapting Civil War. This is definitely something for a few movies down the line, I feel. And because the DC Universe as we know it on screen doesn't really have much of a status quo going on. I mean, for example, once we got done with Justice League, we jumped straight into things like Birds of Prey, Shazam. Like, there's been no status quo of like an overall universe thing, and that's because I think Walter Hamada wanted to keep to very standalone movies. So yeah, I've been a little dubious as to whether or not the DC Universe is even equipped to adapt Flashpoint. Flashpoint is a story that is very much dependent on the DC Universe world building. You're seeing all these alternate versions of these characters, but I guess in the case of a DC Universe Flashpoint, it's like we haven't really got to know these characters all that well, so when we do get these shakeups, it's like, oh, is that how that is now, huh? So it's like we'll be seeing major shakeups to characters that we haven't even seen for like 5 years. And it's like, oh, they're still relevant. Okay. The Flashpoint storyline is something that can easily be turned into like a Justice League story. It's like our first cinematic Flash movie, and we're doing basically Justice League light. Perhaps the biggest draw of this movie, and I think they know that going by the posters, is Michael Keaton returning as Batman. It's like when you've got Batman No Way Home embedded into your Flash movie, I don't think anyone's going to be all that excited about The Flash, and I kind of feel very sympathetic towards Flash fans that wanted their hero to be the main event. So yes, I do have my reservations towards this movie. What are we actually getting here? Now that I've seen the trailer, it does look like we're getting some actual answers here. And we're seeing a bit of the how and why they're doing things in this way. So, like, it's the first Flash solo movie of the DCU. We haven't really told this guy's origins, nor really should we, because we've got a very expanded version of that in the Flash CW series. But having the Flashpoint storyline, Barry going back to save his mother, is a good means of kind of telling that that origin story, but folding it in to a different narrative, kind of like what Batman Mask of the Phantasm does with Batman's origin story. You tell a new story with direct ties to the origins, a story that causes our character to reflect on those origins so we can kind of see those origins with them. I think that's a fair way of doing it. So in terms of the actual Flashpoint event, Flash going back in time to save his mother, it feels like we've got that same sort of launch pad for this story. We've got that same catalyst for everything that's going to go down. And then of course, like in the Flashpoint story, that does create a brand new timeline. So from the looks of things here, the big ripple effect that Barry's time travel shenanigans have on Universe Prime, rather than being like the war between the Atlanteans and the Amazons and Bruce Wayne being the one to get killed by Joe Chill, instead it looks like what we're getting is the Black Zero event, but Superman is no longer present. The rumor being that Zod killed Superman as an infant. Not that that's confirmed, but there are certainly things that do give this some credence. And we will be getting to that later. Now, this is kind of a thing that I've had with the original Flashpoint storyline as well. How does Barry going back to save his mother cause quite the ripple effect that it does? Like, what does that have to do with Bruce being the one that gets killed by Joe Chill, or the Atlanteans and the Amazons' war? And in the same vein, how would Barry going back to save his mother affect the events of Man of Steel to the point where Superman is no longer there? That's an issue that I do have with the original Flashpoint storyline. And it looks like it's going to be a small issue here. And as I say, small issue because at the end of the day, no matter how contrived it is, it still leads to some cool stuff, so it at least has a bit of a payoff to it. Like, if you're gonna have a contrivance or a plot hole or a logical leap, you gotta make sure that there's a little reward on the other end of it, you know? At least there's something cool to justify it. Now, because the multiverse is in here, and I'm guessing that maybe it's like Barry Allen's time travel shenanigans caused the opening of the multiverse. But because the multiverse is here, it does lead me to question if this new timeline is the same universe, if this is still Universe Prime. Another fairly major departure from the original Flashpoint storyline is that in the original storyline, it's like Barry comes back to the present day and he hasn't got any superpowers. Rather than that happening, we've now got Barry kind of split in two. We've got the Barry that does have superpowers, Barry Prime, and this new Paradox duplicate who doesn't have any superpowers. So here's what I'm expecting from this storyline, is that Barry's going to get back to his timeline to find out General Zod is winning. He's terraforming the Earth, it's going to be the new Krypton, and there's no Superman to save everybody. I don't know how this is necessarily going to happen, but he's going to come across the existence of a Supergirl who is being held prisoner. And he'll enlist the help of Michael Keaton's Batman from Earth 89. And it looks like using the Batwing or something, he's going to help Barry replicate the lightning strike that gave him the superpowers so that he can give the Time Paradox duplicate Barry superpowers as well. Whether this is to help restore the timeline's original events, or just maybe two Flashes are better than one. And we see what looks like an action sequence, possibly somewhere in Eastern Europe, where Batman, the Flash, the Paradox Flash, the not Prime Flash, I guess, are all working together to bust Supergirl out of her imprisonment. So she takes Superman's place in the Man of Steel storyline and would defeat General Zod. That way, even if this timeline is different, it is still at least safe. But presumably, more must happen from there, as, like, Barry must be resetting the timeline in a way that's going to result in the new DC universe led by James Gunn. We do know that this is going to result in some kind of grand reset. So I don't know, maybe the plan fails. Now, it is really funny looking at the optics of this movie, like the idea being that, like, in the Flash's first solo movie, it's like we've got General Zod as a major baddie, and the Flash's mission is he has to find Supergirl so that she can defeat General Zod. Again, I can understand why diehard Flash fans are not happy about that. And then, of course, Michael Keaton's Batman completely steals the show in this trailer. Like, in this trailer, he is the main event. He's the big hype moment, is like the build-up to the return of Michael Keaton's Batman. But overall, yeah, that's what I could get from the plot of this, and I guess, like, it makes sense, the changes that they've made. By having Michael Shannon return as General Zod and having the big what-if scenario be, you know, what if Superman wasn't there for the Black Zero event, yeah, this does at least make the new threat feel homegrown. If we'd had, like, Atlanteans versus Amazons, it would feel all a little bit more foreign, I think. We've got something that relates heavily to the roots of this DC universe. as well as that, you know, the war between the Atlanteans and the Amazons was really only a Zack Snyder's Justice League thing, and it seems to be up for debate as to whether or not that is the canon version of those events. I think it should be. I don't think any studio worth their salt should be accepting the 2017 version as part of their back catalog, but it seems like Warner Brothers at the very least want to leave things a little more ambiguous. However, it definitely comes across that they are skewing more towards the 2017 version, and I just don't get why, you know? There's nothing in Snyder's version that outright contradicts anything. Sure, Darkseid is prepping his armada to come for Earth so they can have their big war and everything, but maybe Barry going back in time could just prevent that before it even happens, without him even knowing it. It's not great storytelling, but still, it's something. Better than having Justice League 2017 as your first major cinematic Justice League movie. Listen, I'm not really okay with cinematic erasure, but like that's one thing where I'd absolutely forgive them if they wanted to erase that one from history. Looking deeper though, there's still a lot more to take from this trailer. Like we've got the Flash ring is finally here now. It's no longer just a suit that he has on a display like he had in Justice League. Ben Affleck is back as Batman, and we're seeing him both as Bruce Wayne and as Batman in this trailer. He's wearing what appears to be the very first gray and blue Batsuit since the 1960s, riding on the Batcycle. And I gotta say, seeing that, I felt really nostalgic. I've missed Batfleck, and I think he's looking fantastic. Like, we're seeing him as Bruce Wayne here, and he looks a lot more cut than he did in the previous films. He's not as hulking this time, but he looks really good. And I guess, like, if he's not gonna appear in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, this is going to be one last hurrah for Ben Affleck's Batman. And that's enough to get me in a seat, you know? It definitely looks as though Michael Keaton's Batman is kind of taking the place of the Thomas Wayne Batman that we had in the original Flashpoint series, and I don't know entirely how I feel about that, because I feel like the story with Thomas Wayne is probably going to be a bit more emotionally compelling than what we're getting here, like the story of the father who lost his son, whereas this is just an alternate universe Bruce Wayne. And yeah, it would have been great to have seen Jeffrey D. Morgan in the cowl. At the same time though, I guess this does at least offer us a greater link into the roots of the DC Universe's history on the big screen. Short of having an appearance of Christopher Reeve as Superman, I don't think you can, like, intertwine with the roots of the DC cinematic universe much more than this. And as far as the filmic medium goes, it's a character that we've already built more of a relationship with, you know? He's got more of a history with us than the Thomas Wayne character does. I'm also just gonna say though, Michael Keaton's absolutely still got it, and it's incredible seeing him back as Batman. And we're seeing like lots of different shots of him fighting people, and it looks like the Batman choreography looks more akin to like Batfleck style of fighting, so it's been updated with time, you know? Because yeah, the Michael Keaton fighting style is a bit antiquated by today's standards, so it makes sense to update him so he fights in a way that is more quintessentially Batman, you know? And Batfleck's fighting style really revolutionized, you know, how Batman fights on screen, so it makes sense to let us see Michael Keaton with that style now. He's also rocking a new suit, which looks to allow a bit more mobility. It's one that is definitely akin to the previous Michael Keaton suits that we've seen on the big screen, but it is still a new design. We've also got the Paradox Barry getting his very own Flash costume in the form of a repurposed Keaton suit, which appears to be the Batman Returns suit, which I severely doubt would offer him the mobility to go really fast and stuff, but for the sake of the big bombastic fantasy, I guess it's kind of cool. We don't see much of it in this trailer though, considering like how much we've seen it in leaked promotional art. But hey, I guess that's why it's leaked, you know? Maybe they're just trying to keep that secret. I got nothing. But we see some cool shots of the two Barrys fighting side by side, which I really like. There's this cool little moment where their little feet touch, and oh man, okay, maybe I should rephrase that. But yeah, it looks like the action's gonna go hard, particularly with like two Flashes on screen, Batman and Supergirl. And it looks like the emotional stakes are gonna be nice and high, as well as Barry is seen with tears in his eyes as he approaches his family home. I mean, yeah, going back and resolving the thing that gave you trauma for life is gonna be an emotional moment for you, and I think that's gonna be good because we've only really seen the quirkier side of Barry Allen in these movies so far. It's gonna be nice to see more of that emotional anchor, you know? Fun bit of trivia as well. I mean, you could see this in like the very first tease that we got at DC Fandom ages ago, is that the Flash suit was gonna have a little collar around the neck, and they've CGI'd that off. And it's for the better, as it's a bit less fluff, but at the same time, it does make his neck look a little strange. It feels like there should be like a seam line there or something. So overall feelings towards this trailer is, that went kind of hard, didn't it? There were lots of moments when my friends and I were cheering at seeing like Michael Keaton come back and Michael Shannon returning as General Zod. There's a lot that I'm really excited about, both as like a DC fan, but also as a Snyderverse fan, in fact. Like, returning to the events of Man of Steel, like it's the closest we'll get to a Man of Steel 2, you know? We didn't get Henry Cavill back as Superman, but we did get Michael Shannon back as General Zod one last time, and that is something, you know? Man of Steel is a very special movie to me, and to be able to return to those events just makes me really happy. But then also one last hurrah for Batfleck as well, which I'm really looking forward to. It's going to be a bittersweet thing, you know? It's going to be emotional for me as like a Snyderverse fan, seeing all these elements back for one last time. The trailer was really cool. Like, I went into this fully ready to clown on this because I've been kind of clown ready for this movie in a lot of ways, and like I saw the trailer and I was cheering, I was jumping for joy, I was thrilled, I was over the moon. And yeah, I'm really happy with what I'm seeing here. But that's not all. We also have a TV spot advertising the trailer, but this comes with a load of new shots as well. So we've got a closer look at Barry Prime's suit, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you get a closer look at like the cowl and the chest emblem. Barry running in these fiery ruins. Is the world ending? What's happened here? Could that maybe be a bit of the Nightmare timeline, maybe? That would be amazing if that were the case. We've got Supergirl confronting General Zod screaming, "What did you do?" And that's the part that I think gives some credence to the possibility that General Zod killed Superman as an infant. Like, Supergirl, she's very rageful here. She's very emotional. So it's like, if she's asking, "What did you do?" to General Zod, it could be that maybe General Zod has won, or maybe it could be that General Zod has killed her cousin. This is also Kara Zor-El. It's not the Injustice timeline Supergirl. Even though they are bringing in elements of that design, they are clearly just doing the Kara Zor-El Supergirl, which I guess is neither one thing or another. Sasha Calle looks really good as Supergirl. Sasha Calle looks really good. Okay, anyways. We've also got the return of the Flying Fox from Justice League, and it could be a smaller version of it, meant to carry the Bat-Cycle as the original carried the Batmobile. Either way, though, it's cool to see that back from Justice League 2021, Zack Snyder's Justice League, the only Justice League. Who's this long-haired person opening the Batcave? We've also got multiple new Batsuits teased for Michael Keaton. From left to right, we've got a practical suit, which kind of has like you know, gun holsters on it, but it's also got what appears to be the Adam West logo on the chest. We've then got a blue and gray Neil Adams suit, and oh, that's perfect. Oh man, how dare you tease me like that. That's literally everything I've ever wanted from a Batsuit right there. We've got the original Batman 89 suit, so that is in here, as well as the Batman Returns suit to the right of that. We've got a mech suit. Maybe this was to fight against Superman or something. It would be cool if maybe we had like Nicolas Cage as Superman in this movie, just for like a brief flashback or something. And on the right here, we've got this suit with these goggles, but it appears to be very Batman Earth 1 inspired. Will we see any of these in action? I doubt it. I think these are strictly here to show a bit of the history of the Michael Keaton Batman since the events of Batman Returns, since we last saw him. These are kind of just a bit of on-screen storytelling, I guess. Which will be a shame if that's the case, because oh, that blue and gray suit right there is perfect. It's one of those things where, like, the original plan before James Gunn and Peter Safran became the leaders of the DC Universe was that Michael Keaton would become the Batman of the DCU, and it's like, you know what, I'm vibing with that a bit more than I was before now that I've seen him back in action. But, like, I think the blue and gray Neil Adams suit right there would have been the one to go with if you were going to have him as the full-time Batman of the DCU. Obviously, this is a return movie, so you want him in the all black. Makes sense. That's very much Michael Keaton's color scheme. That's his distinctive Batsuit style. But yeah, if you were to have him become like the prime Batman, oh, that blue and gray suit. Oh. We've also got the reveal of the Batmobile, which has been teased, but we haven't actually seen it. Here it is in all its glory. It's exactly the same as it was before, at least I think so anyway. It doesn't look like there's been any changes here, which would be a good thing if there's no changes, because yeah, this is a really pretty design. Everybody loves the Burtonverse vehicles. Like, why change them? Everyone loves them. They're pretty timeless, you know? So now that we've had this trailer and this TV spot, do I still have big reservations? kinda, like, the DC universe as we know it is ending. Naturally, I'm going to be a little sad about that, you know, like, there's a feeling of closure, and closure does bring about sadness. But, you know, I'm still looking forward to whatever James Gunn has for us next. Yes, Ezra Miller in the role of the Flash does feel like an elephant in the room. Like, I still, you know, firmly do believe that a lot of headlines have been very embellished, but, like, even so, is that the kind of person that I want playing a superhero? Not really, but what's done is done, you know? We're here now, I'm gonna enjoy it for what it is. It does feel like we have several story ideas here with an entire film's worth of potential crammed into one movie, which still needs to focus on the Flash. Like, the whole what if Superman wasn't present for the Black Zero event feels like its very own movie. Flashpoint feels like its very own movie. What's going on with Keaton and the multiverse feels like its very own movie. And I do think they can bring these together in a smart way, but I'm hoping that we'll get a generous runtime for this one, that maybe we'll be nearing the 3-hour mark at the very least. I hope so. Then there's what I'm really relieved about, is that while this does look to close the book on the DCU as we know it, and of course that means the Snyderverse too, it does look as though it is handled with respect and love for the Snyderverse and Snyder's contributions. Like, all of this Man of Steel stuff here, Ben Affleck as Batman, everything here looks very sincere. And then there's what I'm most looking forward to now that we've had this trailer. Keaton back as Batman is the number one thing. That's the obvious thing, is I'm looking forward to having Michael Keaton back as Batman. He looks really good. I was wondering how well he'd be able to do this at his age, and that's not like any kind of offense meant. It's just like, if you told me anyone in their 70s would be playing Batman, yeah, I would have some questions. But no, Michael Keaton still got it. I'm looking forward to the remaining scenes that we have with Ben Affleck's Batman as well. Like, just one more ride with Batfleck. Let's one last hurrah with this guy who was pretty central to the DC universe. And of course, another thing that I'm massively excited about is, of course, the return of Michael Shannon as General Zod, facing off against Sasha Calle's Supergirl. Now, my question is, will we see Faora in all this as well? Because Faora was a badass. She was a really good character. So the elephant in the room here is, in the list of things I'm most looking forward to about the Flash movie, The Flash isn't one of them, which is bad optics for the Flash's first movie. But as far as just a DC movie goes, I am super excited for this. I do want to talk a little bit about the aesthetics before we quickly wrap up. So, music-wise, like, you've got very much your trailer music and everything, but we've also got the Danny Elfman Batman theme being used whenever Michael Keaton's Batman is on screen. And I'm guessing that's going to be the case in the movie as well, which is good. I would want it that way, but my god, it feels good to hear the Danny Elfman Batman theme again in a place where it's being used appropriately. Hearing that being used with Batfleck, nah, that didn't hit. You know, I didn't feel that in Justice League 2017 the way I do here with, you know, a Batman that this theme actually represents. I wonder what theme they're going to use for Ben Affleck's Batman in his scenes, if they are at all. I'm hoping they'll use Junkie XL's Batman theme from the Snyder Cut. That way we at least get a little nod to the Snyder Cut being canon in some way. Now, we've also got Andy Muschietti as the director of this film, and it looks like he's done a really nice job with all of the Flash stuff, but what I'm really impressed about is that all of the Man of Steel stuff does look very faithful to Zack Snyder's style. It looks a little different, it's a little more colorful than it was before for definite, but it still looks like it is done as like a loving tribute to Zack Snyder. It does look like a lot of care has been put into recreating this time in the DC universe. And then as for all of the stuff over on Earth 89, the Burtonverse, I don't think he's quite captured the Tim Burton look. I don't know if he was trying to. Like, it feels like it's got those elements there. Like, all of the things that make it Tim Burton's universe are still there. It's just very much through the lens of Andy Muschietti. It all looks a lot more modern, which I guess is fair enough. Now, let's talk about the suits as well, because you know me, I love me some superhero suits. So, we finally got to actually get a good look at the Flash's suit in this film. Like, we haven't really had many good looks at this suit on Ezra Miller. The best looks we had were when it was on display at that shareholders convention. But, like, we never really had a very good look at Ezra Miller wearing this suit. Now we do, and I guess I'm just a little iffy on it still. I don't hate it. I think it definitely looks its best when it doesn't have all of the electricity flowing through it. When all the line work on the costume isn't lit up and we just let the red sections breathe, I think it looks its best there. But I'm really not too hot on the shape of the cowl, and I get they've gone for more like a helmet kind of style for it, but I'm not big on that. and I'm not big on the very rubbery texture that they've gone for with the actual suit itself either. And I guess it kind of makes sense in that it's non-conductive to the Flash's electricity, so he's unlikely to shock himself. At the same time, yeah, I think the CW version, the current CW version, looks much more practical, looks a lot cleaner, looks a lot nicer. I also don't like how orangey the red is that they've gone for this. I would have preferred a much more pure red, but like, it's not horrible, you know? This isn't a horrible suit, it's just a suit where it's like, I'm not sure about the process behind this one. It's definitely very classic. It's immediately recognizable as like the classic Flash. It's just, I don't know, I'm not vibing with it very much. Like, I did prefer his suit in Justice League to this. I don't know, I just thought it looked better. We barely got any good look at the new Barry's suit, the repurposed bat suit, I guess. Looked fairly cool from the little that we saw of it, but yeah, we barely got a look at that. Sasha Calle's Supergirl suit, now that we're seeing it under like the proper lighting and the proper color grading, it actually looks really, really good. It's got a much richer color palette than what Superman's suit had, but I gotta say, like, obviously it's a very one-to-one translation of Lara Kent's suit from the Injustice timeline, but I think it also just proves to be a really cool modern update to the Supergirl suit, so I'm really liking that suit. Then there's, of course, Keaton's new Batsuit, and I have to say, I think they have done a really good job at taking that classic Keaton Batsuit here and modernizing it, making it look a bit more practical, making it look like he's got a bit more mobility in this suit. It's also just really nice and shiny. I do kind of wish, though, that we still had the cape drooped over the shoulders. But I get it, it's more practical this way. It looks less, you know, theatrical. And I think, you know, the Keaton Batman was all about his theatrics, but I think they were very much setting up for him being more of an archetypal Batman in this movie, as he would go on to be the Batman of the DCU in the original plan. So I get it. I get everything they've done here. This still looks like a quintessentially Michael Keaton Batsuit, but it's a really solid modernization. I'll say that much. I wish it had the shoulder cape, you know? But it ain't bad. It's actually a very clever design looking closer at it, gotta say. Then we got Batfleck in the gray and blue Batsuit, and oh god, I cannot tell you how happy it makes me to see him in the gray and blue. But what's all this? What's all this motocross armor? Oh man, I hope he's gonna take that off when he's not on the motorcycle. Because what we can see here is it's his original grey togs that he wore in all the previous films. Maybe a little cleaner, but now with a blue cape and cowl, and that's great. But then we got this armor thing on his chest. And like, I'd be okay with it if it were more like the tactical Batsuit, but this looks, it looks a little messy, you know? Oof, I'm not fond of that. Which is a shame, because if you take that off, then you've got my favorite Ben Affleck Batsuit right here. So close, but so far. I'm really hoping our post-James Gunn DCU Batsuit is going to be in the gray and blue. I think that would be a really inspired choice. So, okay, overall concluding thoughts. Is this still a Flash movie? That's a burning question, I feel. And I think it feels like Flash is very much at the center of this movie. It feels like Flash is very much the heart of this movie. Like, in the same way that, you know, Captain America is the main character of Captain America Civil War. Like, if you called that Avengers Civil War, you'd still notice that there's very much a focus on Captain America. And I think the same might go for this. I mean, you can't call this a Justice League movie, because what kind of Justice League lineup is this? But I think, yeah, like, thematically, this could still end up being a Flash movie, even though we've got all these other elements in here. But at the same time, yeah, I do understand the frustration of Flash fans that have probably wanted to see, like, a big screen adaptation of just a very Flash-centric story. It's like kind of the frustration I felt when, like, the Spider-Man Homecoming trailers and publicity stuff were all coming out, and Iron Man was on all of it. Thankfully, he was only in the film for like 11 minutes, so that problem wasn't really there. But it's like, at this point, you know, if you're going to advertise, you know, Michael Keaton's Batman this much, and then only have him in the film for like 11 minutes, that would actually be really disappointing, you know? It's kind of an uphill battle on that regard, you know? It's an uphill battle to being a Flash movie, but also not disappointing all of the fans you've baited at this point. And I'm hoping that, you know, Michael Keaton still does get a substantial role in this, because, like, you've advertised him, you know? Like, and this is a big deal, you know? It's not like Iron Man, where we'd just seen him the prior year. This is Michael Keaton's Batman, you know? We haven't seen him since 1992. So, yes, as a Flash movie, I can understand the frustration. I mean, at the end of the day, you've at least got the CW series, right? Okay, no. At least you got the first couple of seasons of the Flash CW series, even though those, I didn't like those either. I never thought the Flash was very good. But honestly, as just a big DC event, I'm looking forward to this massively. And I'm gonna say this, as a send-off to the DCU as we know it, even if it's just like in the first act of the movie before Barry goes back in time, if we could just get one last encounter with Henry Cavill's Superman, that would complete this, you know? I think we can expect to see Gal Gadot back as Wonder Woman in this film, as she is in the Funko Pop lineup. But like, if we could just even just get like a cameo of the Henry Cavill Superman in like the first act of this movie or so, that would like go such a long way to making this like a closure thing, you know? So that's one thing where I'm hoping that they're, you know, keeping a few secrets. But as it is, this film has been leaked left, right, and center. Like, this trailer gives a lot of credence to a lot of different plot leaks and such, so I don't know. Like, we're hearing that, you know, Henry Cavill did film a cameo for this film, but now it's been cut out because it would have been something more at the end of the film. I'm hoping we can still see him in some capacity. You know, let's get the old gang back together, you know? I can understand they can't get Ray Fisher back as Cyborg, although, you know, maybe just a nod or a mention or something would go a long way. But as like a finale to the DC universe as we know it, okay. Alright, yeah, no. I'm looking forward to this anyways. So overall, yeah, I've switched up. I'm eating my words. That actually looks really, really good. This might just be one of my most anticipated movies of this year, next to Across the Spider-Verse, which I don't doubt that film's gonna be like 10 times better than this, but like still, maybe I'll be surprised. I mean, I was surprised by this trailer, you know? And I guess, you know, the fact that I really liked this trailer and like what I'm seeing is like, maybe that's a sign, you know? I just need to be more accepting towards these ideas that might not sound great on paper to me right now, but like, I can still enjoy them, you know? And as it is, you know, what we can take from this is we get a little closure for Batfleck, we get a little closure for the DC universe as we know it. I've still got my Snyder movies, you know? I've still got Man of Steel, BVS, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. You know, I've still got those movies. They're not gonna disappear anywhere, you know? Even if this film, you know, erases them from the timeline, we have still got those movies, you know? This is giving birth to an Earth 2, basically, and that was Earth 1, you know? It doesn't have to change anything. I'm coping, but I'm still, I really like this trailer. What do you guys think? What did you think of this trailer? Comment below, let's discuss, and as always, thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a great day. I say, you've made it to the end of the video! Congrats! No, but seriously, thanks a bunch for watching. And just now, I'll be extending a special thanks to the patrons in the $10 tier, who are
Adam Myers, Ken K, Legendary Ray Ray, Mr. SP, Sergio, That Jordo, and Where's Arnold? What an amazing and generous bunch of people. Thank you guys so much for your support. And if you want to join the ranks of these amazing people right here, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. Guys, these are not the easiest times in the world financially, so every little bit you folks are donating is doing wonders. I really would love to be able to do YouTube as a proper fully fledged career someday. It might just be a pipe dream, but maybe you guys can prove some people wrong. But of course, if donations aren't your thing, then, well, it means plenty to me that you just hit that cute little subscribe button over there. I didn't mean hit that way. Well, that's me done for the day. Thanks a whole bunch for your support, and have a fantastic day. I'm gonna see you so soon.